Moving on now, the National Intelligence Agency has called for a review of the accreditation of foreign observers for elections by the Nigerian government, saying it will be in the national interest of the country to act in this regard. The NIA said it had become necessary for the federal government to put foreign election observers on its watch list for national security. The Director General of NIA, Ahmed Abubakar, represented by the agency's head, General Operation Hamza Mohammed, issued the warning on Thursday during a symposium jointly organized by the African Union Development Agency, New Partnership for Africa's Development, and the National Institute of Security Studies. The NIA DG said more attention should be paid to foreign observers and stressed the need for reports made by these organizations on Nigeria elections to be scrutinized by the government. To discuss this, we're joined by security expert Salaudeen Hashimu. Thank you for joining us on Nigeria Tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
After the 1999 election that saw the return of democracy in Nigeria, there has been 5 general elections which came and went without any special focus on foreign observers as possible security threats. Is there anything you know or heard that happened in this 2023 which is the cyst which could have prompted the concerns by the National Intelligence Agency?
Okay, I didn't get that question very correctly, but I think whatever attempt by the National Security Agency or National Security Advisor to begin to clamp or vet especially foreign observers, there is no extent to which security architecture has not been deployed to continue to repress civic space. Democratic process everywhere in the world has that.
Excuse me, sir. Let me repeat the question because I think we need to contextualize the conversation. I'm asking you that we've had elections over the years. This is about the cyst since we got our democracy, and there seemed to be this sudden interest in foreign observers being possible security threat. So my question is there maybe something that you know or you've heard that happened this 2023 that necessitated the concerns being expressed by the National Intelligence Agency?
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious. What has happened is as a result of the recent report that was tendered as an evidence in court over the Presidential Electoral Tribunal, that in itself may have also found the reasons behind the government's intention to do this. And secondly, basically, is because of the growing attempts to continue to close civic space, which for me is an attack, an onslaught on democracy. And this must be resisted by all means. And thirdly, basically, is because of the recently amended Terrorism Prevention Act 2022, which has given broader definition to what terrorism is. And then, of course, meaning that any information that you put out there that causes panic can then be classified as terrorism. So all of these things put together has become or constituted some of the recent onslaught and reasons why this is going to be so. But I think it is actually below democratic requirements, and it is not expected of the intelligence agency to begin to put this on the table. And I think there's a need for them to go back to the drawing table and do something differently with this.
Yeah, that connection between the timing, really. The ruling was yesterday, and today we're hearing this kind of rhetoric from the NIA. They're saying this. Will it be too extreme for anyone to read strong political meanings here? And what do you know about maybe who are qualified to be classified as foreign observer in this contest?
Basically, there are processes of vetting and profiling those who come in as foreign observers. Usually they are entities, multilateral or sometimes even bilateral organizations, ECOWAS, EU, and then of course AU. You have the Americans under the auspices of their democratic institutions. All of them had at various times observed the elections in Nigeria. At the various times they have also been able to offer reports. Sometimes those reports are favorable. Even the UN has got delegation, and of course there are delegations coming from different stakeholders. But unfortunately, I think what has happened in recent past has been that the government has become increasingly touchy, becoming a little bit on the edge, and then of course because of the populist angst against this just recently passed election. And then, of course, coming from the heels of NSAS, and of course, seeing that there is a new demand for a new Nigeria by new demographics of voters, all of this has constituted some of the very fragile reasons why security alert has now been put around those who are called observers and classified as observers. And then, of course, you know too well that they have always been there. But basically, and the fundamental issue was because the EU report was actually, the EU observation report was tendered as evidence, and the report was actually provided in fiat. It actually offered classical reasons to say there were anomalies in the elections. So that in itself may have actually informed some of the reasons. I have worked with some of these guys at different times. They are professional, they are diplomatic, they try to be very circumspect, they try to follow rules and of course regulations, comply with local laws and all of that. So putting this framework in place is an attempt to gag democracy. This, for me, is a democratic coup if it is not taken care of.
In trying to, election observers, foreign or in the country, is not Nigeria's biggest security challenge. We have terror across the country. In trying to find explanation for this and its growth in the country, some national leaders had said that the fighters that we have that are terrorizing the people migrated into the country from Libya and other countries in the Sahel region. It has also been said that the absence of credible intelligence or failure of security agencies to utilize it when it exists is a major reason why insurgency has become so hydra-headed. From your vantage point, how do you think the NIA can be of help in addressing these problems? That is, if you agree that these are key in our fight.
Absolutely. They are very fundamental. We need a more intelligence-led approach to counterterrorism efforts. If we design our intelligence response unit, intelligence gathering, and then, of course, actionable intelligence, it offers us an opportunity to be able to respond even before some of those terrors happen. And then, of course, it allows us an opportunity to be able to control, contain, and prevent the inflow of foreign fighters. I tell you the truth, there are a lot of foreign fighters who come into the Sahel. From the entire Sahel region, you have a lot of terrorist groups from the Islamic Maghreb. You have the Al-Shabaab moving in that region. You have the Islamic State of West Africa, all of them constantly dominating that particular terrain. So you need a lot of actionable intelligence to respond. But unfortunately, because of lack of prioritizing what should be your intelligence approach, it is actually creating some level of need for people to get distracted by electoral issue, which is less on the ladder of our own concern at the moment in terms of democratic and security threat, and then of course allowing us to put our infrastructure, our energy, all our platforms into gathering intelligence across the border, and then of course allowing and ensuring that we don't allow incursion of threats into the country. Okay. It is the tragedy of our national discourse, because we actually fail to prioritize what actually help us to build our security architecture. Rather, we get distracted and politicize security concerns and create some level of commercialization around it, and of course try to sit on a very convenient armchair that make it very convenient. But unfortunately, That is not securitization. We must be deliberate. We must deploy our artilleries, our arsenal, and of course, human intelligence is fundamental. Intelligence-led counter-terrorism approach is the most responsible anywhere in the world.
A lot indeed needs to be done. Thank you very much, Mr. Hashimu, for sharing your expertise with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.